Imagine waking up one day and suddenly your child can't feel their legs, or you're told it's all in your head after 48 different doctors dismiss your debilitating pain. For millions of families navigating chronic illness, this isn't imagination, it's daily reality. When the medical system fails you and isolation becomes your constant companion, where do you turn for answers, advocacy, and hope? What happens when both parent and child are fighting their own medical battles and the very professionals meant to help become obstacles to overcome? Today, we're diving into a world where warrior mothers refuse to accept impossible as an answer. Meet K Crystal Griffith, founder of Medical Mom Warriors, and a woman who turned her own medical trauma into a mission of hope for others. After surviving a traumatic brain injury that took years to properly address, Crystal thought her battles were behind her until her daughter was born with what would eventually become 25 different diagnoses, from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome to severe allergies, from autism spectrum to celiac disease. Crystal has navigated the complex maze of chronic illness from both sides. As a certified heart healing practitioner and two-time best-selling author, she's dedicated her life to empowering medical families with advocacy tools, holistic healing approaches, and most importantly, the community connection they desperately need. Her Real Hope Roadmap has become a lifeline for parents who feel lost in the medical system, proving that even in the chaos of chronic illness, hope and healing are possible.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Impctrs Out Loud, where we interview impactors in our community who are doing things that are going to make a difference within their communities, within the lives of the people that they touch. And today I have with me Crystal, and Crystal is here to talk to us about her organization and tell us what she has going on and how she has been able to influence the community that she is working with. She owns a company called Medical Mom Warriors, and I'm really interested in finding out about this because when I read her bio, it really resonated with me because I've gone through a lot of the things that she talked about in there. So, Crystal, please introduce yourself to us and tell us what your cause tale is.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome.
You know, my cause tale, it started actually about 30 years ago with a car accident. A young lady decided not to defrost her windshield. So there's my tip number one. Please defrost your windshield so you can see where you're going. And that car accident led to a traumatic brain injury that took many years to get over. I saw over 48 doctors. 30 years ago, they didn't know about traumatic brain injuries like they do today. Let's just say if I'd had it today, I'd be a wealthy woman after that car accident lawsuit. But back then, they'd just pat you on the leg and send you on your way and say, it's all in your head. Anyone else feel like that? Anyone else been gaslit by the medical community, dismissed, invalidated, said it's all in your head? Yes, many, many times. Inadvertently, that started me on a journey. I had to get help. I had to fight for my own cause, my own health, my own healing. And it was not easy. And many of your audience, if they've been through any kind of chronic illness or even a life sudden crisis, they know being thrust into that situation without understanding, expectation, a skill set to survive it is incredibly hard. And, you know, for me, my faith has really helped me, and I didn't know, but that was a journey to what I was going to have to do with my own child. We had 10 years of infertility. And then I got pregnant by the grace of God. It was totally a faith healing. It was so amazing. She's my little miracle girl. She has also turned 20 last month. And ever since she was in the womb, she has been making her own decisions. Deciding to do the splits in utero because that's an easy way to have a child. That led to a surprise C-section. And then I did live in a state that you have a lot of jaundice babies there. So that was kind of, again, another medical issue pretty quickly.
Okay.
Within 9 months, she had her first anaphylactic reaction to a food.
Oh, wow.
Scared us to death. I don't think I've ever driven so fast in a car in my entire life, and to the hospital, because we didn't know to call 911 or anything like that. It was 20 years ago even. And so we got her then. We found out about EpiPens, and that started us on a journey that as of this month, she has 25 diagnoses with. In 2020,
25 different allergies?
Not just allergies, actual diagnoses.
Wow.
One is celiac, Ehlers-Danlos. She's on the spectrum. Super smart. She's what's called twice gifted. So she's got this ridiculous IQ up here, over there with like Einstein and all those smart people. And then she has the emotional component, right? Those on the spectrum, we tend to say we have 3 ages. We have the emotional, the physical, and the mental. That can be 3 different ages at all times. Really fun when they all converge together. You know, with all those diagnoses, you know, life has been quite challenging. And in 2020, I realized it's very lonely too. This community just doesn't have the support. Chronic ill don't have the support that they desperately need. And from that, they're just trying to survive. And I realized there's a whole group of people out here just trying to survive and need a voice. And in 2020, who didn't need a voice? Like, we're all at home, right? Like pulling our hair out. They don't have that much hair to pull out. So in 2020, I started my first summit for Medical Mom Warriors. And it's been a slow growth, but I really was a little nervous. Could I support other people walking through the same fire I was walking through myself? So I kind of questioned a couple things, took a step back, did another one about 2 years later from a hospital room because she got admitted. And we had moved 4 times.
So these are virtual summits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything has to be virtual for my life.
Okay.
That's Except we are having a retreat, and that is in person. And I threatened my child's life if she got sick. So yeah, I'm just saying. Like, I need these 5 days, kid. Yeah. You know, when you have challenges in your life, as a current artist has recently said, you got to make lemonade from those lemons, right? And that's what I try to do. I know that in my faith, God's given us opportunities of these challenges. I do not believe it is about discipline. I do not believe he's trying to be a hard nose to us. I believe we live a life that's in a very broken world. Things happen, like that car accident for me, like my kiddo having the medical conditions that she has. We can actually tie some of those back to something very specific that happened to her dad, and some things that he had to take while he was in the military that have caused those issues in her. And so when you think about all the challenges that they're going through, we need inspiration. We need innovation. We need to see these challenges as opportunities to learn, to inspire, to create community from. I love what your impactor statement means, because I do all of those in Medical Mom Warriors. And by nature of the beast, I have to be resilient because I got a kid depending on me.
Right.
You know? So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And that's how we got to Medical Mom Warriors.
Okay. So let's take it back. You said you got in a car accident and then you were diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. What were the symptoms that you had that the doctors were missing or didn't associate with your traumatic brain injury?
I will tell you the symptoms, but let me answer the question first.
Okay.
The doctors didn't know because they didn't have the knowledge back then.
Oh, they did not initially, diagnose you with that.
Well, no, they did diagnose me. I had a subdural hematoma. I had an MRI that showed you have a brain bleed.
Okay, got you.
But it's a lot like menopause with women right now. There's a huge event happening right now because the word is finally out. It's 50% of the population, and 100% of that 50% are going to go through menopause, whether it's surgical or natural, right?
Right.
So now the word is out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, by the way, I'm doing that right now too. It's super fun. And so, so it's about the knowledge of what they didn't know about traumatic brain injuries back then. You know, it was still honestly at the, do you remember the Little Rascals TV show where if they got a bump on the head, they just put a wrap on the head? Same concept. Only 30 years ago, that was their idea of fixing it. And so I actually, to go a little more in depth, here are my symptoms. I had nothing when I walked away from the car accident. They did take me to the hospital. I had a little neck pain, but I really kind of walked away from it. And 2 days later, I woke up with excruciating pain in my head. I never really had a headache in my entire life. I mean, if I got overheated, I might have had one. Band, like we're out there 8 hours a day doing band. But no migraines. There was not a history in my family of migraines. There was nothing like that. I didn't even get sinus migraines. And I'm like, what is happening? In a very short amount of time, I would wake up and not know my name. I would not know where I was. I would lay in the bed going, okay, I know I'm safe, but what is happening? I couldn't handle light. I couldn't even handle the hum of the refrigerator in the apartment we were in. Total reverse of atmosphere, of environment, of me personally. Like I am now what you would probably see as an extrovert. What you don't see is the backstory, right? So once I'm done with these interviews, I have some quiet time because that's what my brain still needs. Now, the headaches, I saw 48 doctors, as I mentioned earlier. We tried every medication under the sun. I found one about 9 months in that I actually got back to me. I had no pain. The world was amazing. It lasted for 14 days and 23 hours and 59 minutes, and 15 days in, it was gone. I was like, wow. But what it gave me was hope that we could find an answer of some sort. What we landed on was actually a medication that they don't usually give for headaches. And I couldn't use it all the time. I could only use it when it would get so incredibly bad, I couldn't function, and it would just take the edge off. And I lived like that for about 4 years. Now, for your audience, as I said, I'm a believer. 4 years in, I was at a particular event, and the person on the stage actually started calling out. There was somebody there with a car accident, had massive headaches, constant pain. They didn't know what they were going to do, and they felt very hopeless. And all the people around me knew my story, and they all looked at me like, that's you. And I'm like, what are we even talking about? Like, I was just so in my own little fog, right? I've been asking for that healing for years. Every day was survival. That was about it. In the middle of all that, the marriage turned abusive because I had had so many personality changes. He didn't know what to do with me. So I'm fighting a battle from a lot of different sides. And when they all pointed to me and said, that's you, I went, oh, okay. Well, anybody else in their normal mind would have been, all right, let's do this. Well, I was driving back to the state that the car accident happened in the next morning for the court case. And now I was wrestling. I was like, okay, but if I get healing, can I really talk truthfully in the court about this pain that I'm having? Like, what does that look like? And I heard these words. I heard, who are you trusting? And I went, oh, okay, I'm going to trust you. All right, let's do it. The minute I said, let's do it, I didn't have to go on a stage. I didn't have to have anybody put hands on me. I didn't have to have anybody pray. They left like that. And I've never had one of those headaches since. With the education that we have had since all of that, I now know what I was experiencing was a migraine over my entire head, which is like impossible. But I had them.
Oh, it's possible.
Right? I don't wish this on my worst enemy, truly. But
Mhm.
then I would have another one superimposed on it in another part of my brain. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is happening? Yes.
Yeah.
So anytime I hear people having headaches,
Mm-hmm.
praying for them. I am giving them as many tools as I can.
Yeah.
Share
I
my
can tell you can have a whole head migraine headache because I suffer from chronic migraine headaches.
Oh,
Like I have to get treatment every quarter to stave them off because it's it's
I
debilitating.
do.
And you
I
know that.
truly
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Well, the really cool part of the rest of that story is we ended up going to court.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been through a couple of lawyers at that point because they didn't believe in headaches either.
Mm.
I had a 6-person jury, and my dad was supposed to testify. And so he was out in the hallway because if you're testifying, you can't be in there, right? So I get to tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
My main doctor gets to tell his story about what I've experienced. And then we go to lunch. And so as soon as we come back from lunch, there's a lot of hubbub happening. And so my lawyer goes over and talks to their lawyer, comes back. And the next thing I know, my dad is like seeing everybody coming out and is like, what's happening? I recognize you from the jury. And they're like, oh, they settled. Not only did we settle on the exact amount that God had told me to settle for, which was totally cool. Trust me, it was not a large number, but it was enough to pay all the medical bills. And I got a bedroom suit and a living room suit out of it. That was it. But he asked them, how would you have voted? Well, out of the 6 people on this jury, and I didn't even know you could have a 6-person jury, 4 of them would not.
I found that out when I was a person on a 6-person jury.
I didn't know that. I'm like,
yes, I was like, I thought we had to have 12.
And shouldn't it be a jury of your peers, right?
Yeah. I was surprised too. I was like, why are there 6 of us? Aren't there supposed to be more?
The things that you learn when you have to walk through that fun, right? You know, like, wow, this is interesting. So, so 4 of them would not have voted for me because they didn't believe in headaches. They were college kids, and they think if you have a headache, get hangover. And I'm like, really, guys? So it was totally, for me, a God thing because I never would have won the court case. So I got to say my piece finally, which is what I wanted to say the whole time. And then I got the settlement. So all the bills were paid off. I got these 2 pieces of house things that we needed desperately. And so, from there, I actually, and this might be of interest to you, while I was going through all of this drama with the headaches, I was starting to do my own research, which actually helped me later with Medical Mom Warriors as well. I became a very intense researcher. Now, remember, this was pre-internet days.
You were reading a lot of books and spending a lot of time in the library.
Exactly. Exactly. I came across the most random magazine. Nothing's random in the kingdom. But I came across the most random magazine for headaches, of all things. And in the back of this magazine, it talked about a new study that was happening. It's called biofeedback. Now, this is how cool this story gets. At the time, I had moved from this little small college town in Virginia back with my parents because my then husband went into the military. And so he was at tech school away, and I was staying with them, and we got our first duty station down in Mississippi. So I get down to Mississippi. Mississippi is about an hour and a half away from Pensacola, where we are. And this particular study is in Pensacola. You have to apply to be in the study. You have to give them all your background. I got accepted. It was the very first, what ends up today being neurofeedback studies ever. And I was in it, which is so cool. Didn't work at all for me, but that was in the early stages. I do suggest neurofeedback for many people who have migraines because you can rewire your brain. It is amazing what can happen for your brain that way. Because for your audience to understand that pain level that we are in, chronic illness, migraines, whatever that pain is, it forms pathways in your brain.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have this rut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you in your car trying to get out of sand. You just dig the
Yeah.
rut deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And then you're almost living in the expectation of when is the pain going to happen again when you
Mm-hmm.
finally get out of it, which shifts your psychology, shifts your neurology. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to retrain your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a choice. When you
Mm-hmm.
are in pain anywhere in your body, you have to retrain your brain.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for medical mom warriors, we have kiddos in that kind of pain all the time. And many of our kids, they can't tell us about that pain. You know, my daughter, when she was little, would scream bloody murder from what we
Mm-hmm.
thought were growing pains. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, kids have growing pains, right? In their
Mm-hmm.
legs.
Right.
And that lasted years at night. Like
Mm-hmm.
that affects your quality of life, for her going to school, for her
Absolutely.
being productive, for me being productive, because I'm up with her. He was always sleeping.
Absolutely. I tell my daughter all the time, I said, I remember being in like, I want to say either the 4th or 5th grade and saying to my mom, does everybody feel this way? And she says, what are you talking about? And I said, like, are you in pain every day? And she goes, no, what are you talking about? She goes, are you? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And she goes, are you serious? And I was like, yes, I'm always in pain, you know? And she was like, that's not normal. And she started to get really worried, you know, at that point, because I was just masking it because that was my life. But at some point in time, I realized, wait, not everybody else around me is in pain all the time. Is this normal for me alone, or is it everybody else and they're just not saying anything either, you know? So I remember having to ask that question, and that harsh reality that no, it's you. There's something wrong with you that's causing you to be in pain. And then we just went through years and years of medical exploration trying to figure out what it was that was causing this pain. And I really did not find out until I was in my 30s.
Wow.
Actually, early 40s. Early 40s. The one thing we did know I had was chronic migraines, because those started when I was 2, you know, but there were some other things that were happening that were keeping me in a constant state of pain that it just became normal. I was going to school in the 8th grade, taking 500 milligrams of Motrin just to get through the day, you know? So for years and years, and I was like, you know how much damage I was doing to my body by taking that much Motrin as a young child, you know, but the pain was so intense on a consistent basis. And, you know, I have to knock on wood and say praise, because I could have been an addict. You know, and thankfully that has never been my reality. But you know, think about it: taking Motrin, taking Tylenol 3 from junior high school, that could easily have caused an addiction, but it did not. Thank God. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I totally understand that completely. One of the in 2020, outside of the whole COVID drama, my kiddo lost use of her legs. Like she was just dancing, kicked up, fell on the floor, couldn't feel anything from the waist down. Took us 4 years to figure out she had hip dysplasia from doing the splits in utero that never got diagnosed. And then
because you said she had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
And then we found out she has Ehlers-Danlos. And we didn't know all that at the time. So
I have it.
2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
so
I have it.
I was just thinking, I was listening to her sometimes. I'm like, I really need to talk to her.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, girl, we need to talk. Yeah, yeah, we should totally talk.
Yeah.
It took us 9 months. It took for her levels to come back. And who knew you have 2 sets of nerves going down each leg, one for sensory and one for nerve endings. Like you literally could have taken a knife and cut off my daughter's leg and she never would have felt it. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And, you know, one of the tools that we used in the middle of that, which actually could help you as well, is a frequency unit. And so our bodies have frequency within them. It's energy, it's the electrons, the ions, it's all science. And so when one of her teachers heard what had happened to her, she contacted me and said, hey, I have this tool that I use. I really think it would be super helpful for her. Let's see if we can get her some healing. And I'm like, bring it on, dude. When you are desperate to get out of pain, that literally is why addictions start, right? Because you're so desperate to escape the ongoing pain, to just have a moment where you don't feel it. And I feel for people who go to the things that cause such death to their body as well, and just compound the issues. But this particular unit, I actually have it sitting right here. It looks like this, and it's called a Healy. They've had them, God bless Europe, for years or so. You know, it's called the Time Waver over there. It had just been released in May, and this happened to my daughter in June. So she brings that over. We're attaching it to her legs. It's sending frequency vibrations. And I do believe that the amount of holistic tools that we began to interact with helped her get that back. I do. And the Healy is just one of them. Another one that we were using is the red light pad, which brings oxygen and reduces inflammation. That's a huge one she still uses today. The Healy she uses for Ehlers-Danlos.
I do red light, a red light sauna.
Yep.
So
perfect. Get it throughout your whole body. And then another one is lymphatic massage. So
I do that.
Do you have the suit?
No.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna send you the name of the suit. So there's a top piece.
I do it manually, and then, sometimes I go to the spa and have it done. Yeah.
Yep. She got trained in the manual lymphatic to do it on herself. But then she has this suit that it's called the pump. And the pump does the top or the bottom or both, depending on what you need. It is amazing.
Okay.
And then compression wear. You know, I am very surprised about how effective compression wear is. Now, let's just clarify. We're not really just talking about Spanx, although that can get you started. For those of you who want to kind of test the waters and see if it helps, go to the off-brand markets like TJ Maxx or Marshall's or Ross's and get the Skinny Girl or the Spanx. I don't get any affiliate fee or anything from them. I'm just telling you what works for us. And we started there because with Ehlers-Danlos, as you know, everything goes out of socket. And for those that don't know Ehlers-Danlos, it is a connective tissue issue. So all those things holding your body together, allowing you to walk and function, requires tendons and muscles, which are all made up of connective tissue. So Ehlers-Danlos kind of shreds that connective tissue. It doesn't have enough glue in it to keep all of those things in place. For my kiddo, she puts her shoulder out all the time and then walks around and goes, hold on, let me put it back in, click, and back in it goes. And her knees go out. Her ribs are notorious. So I don't know if you had this issue, but as a young kid, we didn't know Ehlers-Danlos yet. She kept having costochondritis. This is when you would get these coughing flares for no virus or bacterial reason, but it could quickly, for her, escalate into pneumonia. Because the minute you start playing with her lungs, she was chronic croup.
Yeah, I almost died from walking pneumonia as a kid.
Yep, you did it. And now we know why, right? Ehlers-Danlos. I love it. Right? Ehlers-Danlos affects every single organ in your body.
Yeah, the coughing thing happens all the time. My daughter's always running into rooms going, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I would just cough and cough sometimes for like 5 minutes straight. I'm like, let me just get through the coughing spell, you know, but it happens often and there's nothing going on. I'm not eating. I'm not drinking. I'm just here. And then I'm just coughing.
And I suspect you probably just put, a rib out of order too, you know, dislocated the rib. The compression wear helps keep those in for those of you who are kind of wondering, where are we going with that? And it keeps her hips in. She wears the hip girdles and has the longer legs to them. And then she has the tops, and they keep all of her ribs in. And then the shirts keep the shoulders in, all super helpful. But you can actually get compression wear covered by insurance. We just learned that. And so you need to find a compression wear shop. Ours is in Williamsburg, Virginia, and I guarantee they probably know where all of them are all over the country. So look them up. Victorious Images is the name of the shop. Give them a call. You can tell them Crystal sent you, and they could work with you directly, or they can find a shop maybe locally to you. But that compression wear is amazing. And that's the really good compression wear. That's the fingerless gloves that are keeping even those joints well and all of those moving parts and pieces. And they've got everything available to you, even like the leggings, capris, all of it.
Okay, that's good to know.
All amazing.
Yeah. So tell us exactly, how do you support the families, the parents, and the kids in your group, in your company?
So Medical Mom Warriors is really built on 6 pillars. So the first one is advocacy, teaching them what they can say and not say, and how they can come across in a better way to the doctors to have better authority and expertise, because no one knows your body, just as you know this. No one knows you better than you.
Right.
And when we have doctors who don't understand that, there's an instant defensiveness from us as the patients, because
I've changed my GP several times since I've moved just because of that.
And that's one of my #1 advocacy hacks is you can fire your doctor even while you're in the appointment, which we've done. It's also built on community. You know how isolating this can be. And, you can't go out, you can't interact at times, especially when you're in the chronic pain and you're at home in hibernation. And like what happened with me, I went from extrovert to introvert. And now I'm kind of a good mix of them. I show up well, but then I got to have my hibernation afterwards. Right?
This is my extroverted activities.
Totally good. Right?
Doing this podcast is my extroverted activity.
But it takes energy, doesn't it? And
it does. I'm going to bed after I'm done here.
You understand. You totally get it. And then we offer resources. So we're actually in the process of doing 3 different databases. One has a lot of tools, resources, financial supports that we found out here. And then another one, we want doctor referrals. We're tired of going to bad doctors. Like, I literally had a GI walk in, not read her chart, when every time we make an appointment, I say, look, she's a medical unicorn. She has 25 diagnoses. He or she, the doctor, has to read the chart. I need to know whether you can handle her before we waste our time even getting to you.
Right.
They leave, they come back to the phone. Oh yeah, we're good. We show up. We've now had this happen 3 times in trying to find new doctors. And then they go, oh, so you have headaches. No, that's not why I'm here. Like, have you looked at her chart? Like there's 10 neurological issues happening. Or the GI goes, oh, well, we're just a bread and butter GI. Did you read her chart? No, I didn't. Why are we here? And my daughter's already texting me going, I don't like him. And I'm like, yep, I get it, honey. I get it. So we're looking for better doctors so we can all share. And then we're working on a symptom database because, as you know, trying to diagnose Ehlers-Danlos is like really difficult. Finding a good doctor who will do it is really difficult. So there's the other database, right? But my daughter got diagnosed because I shared her story with somebody else, and they're like, have you ever considered Ehlers-Danlos? And TikTok is amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, I will tell you, tool, and that's all I'll say about TikTok. That's all I'm going to say. It's an amazing tool. You can learn so much about yourself for your diagnoses and having a better conversation with your doctors. And the database of symptoms is never going to be designed to diagnose someone. but it absolutely can jumpstart those conversations into a bigger avenue for you. And then we also want to talk about wellness, just some of the tools I've shared today. You know, those tools are so important.
Thank you for those tools, because I'm definitely going to check them out, because I didn't know they existed.
Oh, no. And I'm happy to give links to anybody who would like them, because the more that we can share and cross talk on what's working for us, the better we're all going to be. You know, I can't tell you how many people have been diagnosed because of my kid's celiac and her autism. Those two are the biggest two alone. And now Ehlers-Danlos is coming up to a close third. And we're in double digits for the first two of who has been diagnosed with those.
And I don't know if with your daughter, if her Ehlers-Danlos goes along with fibromyalgia.
So that's a great conversation. Recently, I discovered, because I was actually told at one point I had fibromyalgia. You could touch me and I would feel the pain, right? My legs are really bad for that. And I started doing a deep dive on that. And what I've come to learn is fibromyalgia is very tied to fight, flight, freeze responses.
It is.
And the trauma that comes from those fight, flight, freeze responses will cause it. So one of the things that I do in Medical Mom Warriors, I'm a certified heart healing practitioner. We work on those from a PTSD standpoint. And it has been amazing to see people walk away and their fibromyalgia goes away completely. And I'm not saying that I have the cure for that. I'm saying, here's what I do, here's what I've seen, and here are the results. And I let those things speak for themselves, because I do, having had physical healing in my body multiple times, I know it can happen. I don't have all the answers for why it doesn't. Like, why does my kid still have 25 diagnoses? You know, I don't know. But without those and without what I encountered, I wouldn't have my cause tale to share with you today.
Exactly. I love what you do with Medical Mom Warriors. I think that support group is absolutely necessary, especially when you have a child that has medical issues that are chronic. It is very isolating. I've been through that component of it as well, because my daughter was a micro preemie. So for years, a lot of people couldn't understand like why I didn't take her certain places, why we didn't do certain things. And, you know, they just weren't understanding, like, you know, I didn't want her to get RSV. I didn't want her she was immunocompromised. And there was just a lot going on, and it can become extremely isolating and just tiring trying to explain to people why I can't do certain things, or why I'm not feeling good today, or why I'm not feeling good every day, you know, but still pushing through it, you know, because I'm not going to succumb to it, or why such and such is going on with my daughter. It's just, it's tiring to constantly explain yourself. I don't want to explain myself. So, but
and you have the double deal. You are walking through chronic yourself, and then you have to take care of somebody who has chronic, right? My hat's off to you. Like, truly, my hat's off to you, because you are the epitome of a medical mom warrior. And the majority of them have their own issues happening at the same time they have to take care of their child. My heart goes out to you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, she's self-reliant, you know, very smart, like your daughter, extremely gifted, and talented mentally and physically, you know, like she can make anything with her hands that she wants to make. And mentally, like, she picks up on stuff. I graduated her, because I homeschooled her, graduated her at 14. So yeah, she's a very smart girl. But the early stages were tough, you know? Yeah. So tell us, what makes you an impactor?
You know, I love the statement when you sent it over to me, because I really wanted to think about the effects of being an impactor. So I am an impactor because empowering isolated and overwhelmed medical mom warriors with advocacy, with connection, with hope, that leads to global transformation and an impact of change in really one of the most critical arenas, which is healthcare. And you can juggle all the balls you want in the world. Your plates can be spinning. But the plate that falls, that ball that falls, that can't be picked back up is your health. And so you have to take that priority. That is one of the most important things that we have to do for ourselves.
I agree. And I love the statement. What makes you an impactor? I can see you put some thought into it for sure. What are 3 tips that you would leave moms, I guess medical mom warriors, whether they're the person going through it or their child is going through it, or someone like you and I both went through where you were going through your own thing and you still have a child that had some medical issues? What would you leave them with? 3 tips or strategies?
The number 1 tip is to trust your gut. Your intuition is given to you for a reason. These special kiddos are given to you. I do think on purpose, because there's something about us as medical moms that we have a different type of intuition than the normal parent. And so we have to trust that. When we know something's off, you pursue it because it probably is. 9 times out of 10, it probably is. And I'd go as far as 9.9% out of 10, it probably is. So that's number 1. Number 2, I mentioned earlier, feel free to fire your team and move on to someone new, because the minute you are not in agreement with your doctor, you are hurting your health. And so you need to prepare you for the best outcome possible. And you have to have doctors that are willing to work with you and go the extra mile. Right. Case in point, her new GP for the place that we've just moved to, he actually researched every single one of her diagnoses before we ever stepped in the first day. He goes, I learned so much through everything you have going on. I didn't know some of these existed. I was like, oh, we like you already. Like, like we're sold, right? And he calls us, he takes time to communicate with us, and you want those things out of a doctor. It doesn't necessarily mean you want their cell phone on speed dial, but you definitely want that open communication. Although I have had a doctor do that for me. And then the 3rd tip, really look at holistic tools. Don't dismiss them. Because back to our conversation earlier, when you're just taking these medications and these drugs, they have effects. And I am not just saying that you shouldn't take medication. There's a new medication my kiddo's on that has helped her tremendously. And it's one that I was going to mention to you once we got offline. But I really want to encourage your audience to look at the effects of all your medications. This is really, really important. I know somebody who is on 12 different medications. They're 76 years old, and they wonder why they can't eat anything. Well, you've got this one, and to make this one work, you got to have this one, and then to counteract the effects of this one, you got to have the 3rd one. So
been there.
Oh my gosh. Ask for what's called a pharmaceutical review is what it's called. And you have one doctor look at all the medications and really look at the side effects and see what's cross doing. Because oftentimes we'll get a medication from a GI and a cardio and a GP, and none of them, they see them on the med list, but they're not really thinking through that they can cross interact. So that's part of really also looking at holistic tools. One of the things that I do drink my sweet tea. I'm a sweet tea drinking girl. So I get my caffeine from my sweet tea. I'm not a coffee drinker. But if I need to pick me up, like today, I've got a couple other things happening today after our conversation. I am going to find my B complex, and I'm going to find my K2D3. Those 2 together act like a caffeinated boost. A lot of people don't know that. And I do everything by tincture due to some surgery that I had. So I just drop my couple drops in and I'm ready to go. So looking for those holistic tools are really going to serve you well as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let the audience know how they can find you if they need the services that Medical Mom Warriors provides, or they know someone who needs the services that Medical Mom Warriors provides?
Well, I would love to connect with you guys. The best way and easiest way is medicalmomwarriors.com. Okay. You're going to show up on there. You're going to see everything that we have available as resources and tools for you. And we even have a community that we'd love for you to be a part of.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really enjoyed the conversation, getting to learn about the organization and how it's serving a much needed segment of our population and a vulnerable segment of our population as well, because I know how isolating it can be to have a chronic illness and deal with a child with a chronic illness when no one else understands what you're going through. So thank you for everything that you do. And again, thank you for being my guest today. Until next time, guys, thank you for joining us here on Impctrs Out Loud. Bye-bye.